Let's fight. I maintain that Atlassian Jira out of the box is almost useless for most teams. I would say your position, an unnuanced take on your position would be like buying an iPhone and then insisting on not installing apps. Like, we live in an age where everyone wants 10 million followers on Instagram. They don't. You want 10 customers who are positive enough that when they hear a colleague or someone else at a networking event say, oh, we're having a problem, they think of you first. Be the best in your micro niche. Be the best ITSM for legal departments in your state or county even. Two pieces of advice then. One is be so good that they talk about you. Two, it's really natural when you're a small services solution partner to pretend you're a big company. But actually, as a branding marketing exercise, it's much quicker and easier to just brand yourself, build relationships. And that's how the market's moving as well. My name is Chris Cooke. I'm known as the man behind Old Street Solutions, custom charts for Jira, the fastest growing app on the Atlassian marketplace for 2 years running. When I joined, we tried to bootstrap the business by selling marketing and sales consultancy, and all the legacy vendors told us that sales and marketing didn't work in their ecosystem. And then I proved them all wrong by outselling them. And they all asked me, what was your secret? It was sales and marketing. So I have a unique position as one of the few non-technical co-founders in the Atlassian marketplace. I have some controversial opinions too. And now I'm working for Collabsoft, and we're making apps that integrate between developers and designers, specifically for now, Figma, Storyboard, Jira, and Confluence.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, I know you have a pretty big history with Old Street Solutions and custom charts, which I've actually used a ton of. That's probably my most used plugin in the Jira ecosystem. The post I made was that you don't need a single Jira plugin. And to clarify, the concept behind that was I've worked with a ton of teams that have implemented Jira, have used Jira, sometimes enterprise teams that have not needed a single plugin. So my process behind this is typically, let's implement Jira. Let's see what we can do. Let's see what we still have, what gaps we still need to fill. And then we go look for an app that could potentially do so. That's always my perspective on how do you implement Jira for pretty much any team. Let me know if you think otherwise, but that's my general thesis.
Strongly. As I say, like towards the tail end of the podcast, we can get into the synthesis, the nuance where we all agree. But for now, let's fight. I maintain that Atlassian Jira out of the box is almost useless for most teams. I would say your position, an unnuanced take on your position would be like buying an iPhone and then insisting on not installing apps. There is an app for everything you need. Atlassian marketplace. The thing is, like, I find this a lot with, intelligent Atlassian consultants. These days with automation for Jira, you can do almost everything, right? With Rovo, automation for Jira, now with Forge, you can kind of do it all yourself. But I have built $10 million business on the fact that people don't want to learn to code in SQL or MQL or even JQL, whatever the hell it is. And as Atlassian moves into these non-technical spaces, there is a huge opportunity for vendors that make an app that's much simpler and easier and more intuitive to use than the Atlassian experience often is. And I think a lot of this comes down to UX. A lot of it comes down to the fact that the average user, you look like a charming man, facial hair I'm jealous of, almost a samurai level of man bun. Do you ever eat a microwave meal?
Very rarely.
See, I knew. See, you're not my crowd, but this is the point. Like my crowd, right? The people I sell to do. They're the sort of people who, when they buy a microwave meal, they immediately throw the container with the instructions in the bin, and then they're trying to read the instructions in the bin without putting their hand in it. And this is most software users. I think B2B software is 20 years behind B2C. If I describe the average customer journey of a B2B end user in terms of B2C, imagine you downloaded an app on your phone, right? And the onboarding process was to have to pay someone $20,000. And even then, people weren't quite sure what they were doing. They were finding YouTube videos from Indians to work out how to use the thing. And at its worst, that is some of the Jira tools and still some of the Jira apps. And so I do understand what you're saying with regard to with the technical enough implementation, the right people, the right setup, and enough critical mass of people that know what they're doing and full-time admins doing it for them. You could do genius things with Jira. But I remember, like, when I was at Adaptivist as a salesperson, they were forcing us to use EasyBI and Jira as a CRM. And anytime I needed to pull a report that told me how much commission I was going to make at the end of the month, I had to pull in a report, like a senior technical person that knew how to code that report for me. And this was the inspiration for custom charts for Jira. So my point is that you can do all sorts, and you smart guys and gals and any other words that I can use there can do all sorts of amazing things. But the average end user, if they have to spend more than 5 minutes learning how to, they won't. And that's a waste and a shame of opportunity. And so until we get to the point where I can just speak to my laptop like Alexa or Siri and say, hey, Siri, do this in Jira. And you know, it depends who you believe. We're either minutes from reaching that point or years. Until I get to that point, yeah, the average user doesn't care. And the best system, and this includes CRM or Jira setup, is the one that people use. And so, you know, campaigning on behalf of which is now becoming the majority of users in the Atlassian space, not devs, but everyone else, right? IT, support, even marketing and HR, so they say. If they can't do it themselves, if they have to get someone smart to do it, that is such a bottleneck and such a blocker that you're better to just download an app for it. Mm-hmm. The prosecution rests. I've spoken a lot. I'll let you rebut.
Yeah, I'm curious about your thoughts on the new features, the things that Atlassian's implementing, you know, over time. I think in the last couple of years, they've done an absolutely ton of stuff to kind of replace functionality, quote unquote, of the Jira apps. Do you think we, from your perspective, will ever get to a place where you can essentially get 90, maybe 80% of what you need done with native Atlassian functionality?
So it's a great point. It's a great follow-up. Yeah, I would say Appmageddon is coming, right? Exactly when that is, to be determined. And I think it's easy to be a chicken little. It makes it hard for a private equity firm to want to acquire your app. So if your only plan was to build an app and be acquired, there are less and less options for that. The multiples are less. It's less exciting. And here's the thing: I'm simultaneously like bearish, cynical, skeptical of what I call the bedroom developers' chances in this marketplace. But at the same point, I think now more than ever, build something with heart, build something genuinely useful, and the opportunity is still there. And I think this is often the case. The point of events like Teams and the keynote speeches is to hype, right? Like, look what AI does, look what we've launched. It makes the share price go up. And that's honestly what the toolkit's for. For the average Atlassian vendor watching that, should they give up hope, abandon all hope? No. I think, well, I'm the perfect case of this, that you only need 3 years and a good amount of growth to make a lot of money. And everyone told us, that it's very easy in hindsight to say, oh, custom charts, obviously everyone needed that, that's a great app. Every mentor I spoke to, in the Atlassian space at least, told us it's too late, there's loads of reporting apps, there's loads of competition. And Atlassian are moving that space, no question. 10 million annual recurring revenue later, we did fine. So I actually think there's a big opportunity when Atlassian makes an announcement like this and the app fires of the world stop investing in that space. So many apps are built on the fact that you are trying to outrun the, like cartoon style, there's a big bulldozer behind you and you're trying to outrun it, right? Like, yeah. If you're just making a basic bitch feature that is high up on Atlassian's backlog, good luck. Like you are at risk, but at the same point, you do very well zigging when everyone's zagging, bucking the trend, doing the opposite to everyone else. And so now everyone's scared and people aren't investing in new apps and new ideas. There's some notable exceptions, which we can talk about in a bit. Now is a good time if you've got a good idea to go for it. Because here's the thing, like Atlassian might develop it as a feature. That was always true. Like people are acting like this is new, that this is shocking. But there's a 15-year history of Atlassian Sherlocking apps. What they used to do is have the courtesy to give people warning and notice when it happened, and they've got worse in their comps. But I don't think the game has really changed, other than, they used to give people 6 months notice, and now there's been a lot of changing of personnel. They care a bit less about that. But honestly, there's still opportunity.
I think that's a great point.
Kind of more opportunity when the big players stop investing. Cool. You'll have less competition than there used to be if you find a new idea.
Yeah, a lot of teams look at that micro like, oh, Atlassian is going to develop this feature, this app replacement, and that's it. But they don't look at that history of it's been like that forever, and there's been apps that succeeded regardless.
Yeah, it's like people new to the fight that are like, oh, it's really aggressive out here. It always has been, brother. Welcome to the rampage. And one of my favorite guys in the space, Boris Berenberg, who you should interview. He's a fascinating character. But he always said, like, every time Atlassian comes out with a competitor to your app, sales go up. Because the first Atlassian, as a big enterprise organization, are very good at marketing things as soon as they're launched, which is when they're probably inferior to your version you've been building carefully and with love and customer feedback for 5 years. So when Atlassian announced that now we do this, the sales of the vendor apps competing with it go up because people search for, oh, that's cool. I would really like to do that with my Jira. Try the Atlassian version. Are disappointed. Download the app.
That's very interesting. Yeah, I never even thought about it that way, but that's a great point. In terms of things changing and the landscape changing for these app developers, what are your thoughts on the new pricing models? I hear some rumors of potentially pricing being per user rather than all users and pricing tiers for applications.
Well, there's a few things to say about that. One, it's not like Atlassian's going to force it on people. Vendors will have the option to opt into it. In classic fashion, it's long been demanded of by Atlassian's biggest customers. And it is kind of a quirk of the classic software as a service model. You pay for every add-on. And the argument from, the script runners or some of the testing apps of the world, right, is that I don't care that you only have 4 people at your company that use it. A Power Admin tool benefits all of the users. And that's fine. what this then will do for those that opt into the new pricing model is they have to have those conversations and make that business case. So if ScriptRunner is worth $20,000 per user, then that's what it's worth, right? The average Jira instance does not have 1,000 people using ScriptRunner. It has less than 10 power users, and those are the really important admins. It's a power admin tool. So you just have to then have the conversation. And the funny thing is, I always say this, so often when Atlassian does something that's bad news for vendors, I welcome it. Because the biggest problem as a vendor is that Atlassian does not consider our customer data our data. And so if I sell to a customer via the Atlassian marketplace, all I get is the technical customer contact. It's been fascinating as well, especially like I've recently moved company to a smaller company where I'm much closer to this, right? Small startup, I'm the guy sending the emails. A few years ago, I had a team for that. So now I'm actually the guy sending the emails. I go through and I'm like, the listed contact is either a solution partner or, I simultaneously add them on LinkedIn, right? Yeah, it is so hard to talk to my customers and Atlassian make themselves the gatekeeper of my customers. Half the time it's solution partners listed as the contact, which is fine. I can do that. But then you add them on LinkedIn and it's like the guy left 8 months ago from that company. They haven't changed the technical contact because they don't care. And it's almost like email has died. So if your only point of contact is an email waiting for Atlassian to update, you're screwed anyway. And so as bad as it is when Atlassian changes things, I welcome it because it finally gives vendors a chance to talk to customers. And when customers go, which fair enough they will, hi, we pay per user, but only 4 users use this, so we'd like to negotiate the price down. Hey, great to talk to you. Let me explain why our app is in fact worth the price you're paying for. Because 9 times out of 10, the guy that knows it is super technical subject matter expert who's just left alone. And business doesn't have a hold of that. And so I think, and I know why, because Atlassian doesn't want spam. But the problem is vendors spam customers because we have no way to properly contact them. It's like, if your only hope is to spam or every customer and hope one of them replies, then that's all you've got left. If we actually had the choice of talking to our end users, it'd be win-win all around. We'd get better feedback, better communication. And look, like any good team, I've had people reach out and go, look, we're facing a tough quarter. Can we have a discount? Or even solution partners say, look, if you could give us a bit of a discount, it'd be really helpful. Great, let's have that conversation. But at the moment, it's playing like telegraph. And this is crazy, but, it's like you're having to send letters to get feedback. That person then has to relay the message, and that person has to relay the message. And so this is the moment. It's crazy I'm talking about this, but my main point is that as difficult as the pricing thing will be, it will enable vendors to talk to customers. And that is currently the biggest problem with the Atlassian marketplace, more than any of the other threats people are talking about. And I've been talking about this for 10 years. Please, sir, can I talk to my customers? Please.
That's a really great perspective. I've actually never heard that being, the number one challenge for app vendors. Sheds a lot of light to the current landscape of like the current app developers, people who potentially want to become app developers. In terms of apps and features, what is the number one feature missing from native Atlassian products from your perspective?
Don't ask me, fella. I'm not a user of Jira and Confluence.
Really, at all?
Seriously.
You just develop the apps and that's it.
I used to be embarrassed about it, but now I'm kind of proud. I've got this far. my team has just got me using a Jira dashboard for marketing.
So
And
what do you use to track your work and all of your documentation, whatever else?
look, if it's important, someone else does it. I'm the conductor of the orchestra. It is not my job to play the instruments. So, yeah, genuinely, I know how to find the marketing dashboard and move a ticket to done. And I know how to write a blog in Confluence. It took me a while to learn how to embed YouTube because you can't do a certain type of link. You have to copy it from the top. If you click share and there's a dot between the U and how some of the links work from YouTube, Confluence fails to load that. I would call that bad experience. They'd call that user error. But I'm not. This isn't a humble brag. This is just me, and this is why I make good apps for non-technical users. I've realized I did a lot of work in the space of like accessibility for blind, deaf, disabled people, and you realize that like if you make an app that's good for those people, you also accidentally make an app that's good for the busy CEO that isn't paying attention, that doesn't care. And this is my advice is like I say, if I have to read instructions, if I have to stare at your app for 5 minutes to work out what's happening, bad UX. And so the apps I found, the app vendors I'm friends with, it's almost because they just care about UX enough. Again, no one buys an iPhone and then goes on a 2-week training course how to use it. Build your things with good enough UX, then an idiot like me doesn't have to think about it. Works at the box.
Yeah, that's great. Especially for, you mentioned like busy CEOs. I think there's a pretty big gap between products being used by the average, individual at a company versus a stakeholder or a CEO who's not very technical, who typically works off their phone.
And Atlassian wants to grow into that space, right? That's the promise. That the C-suite can get an advanced dashboard. Cool. Then don't make me become a Jira expert. I'm not. And I won't. I won't learn it. And I guarantee that's the attitude of the average 40, probably 50-year-old C-suite member is like, if I can't learn to do it in 5 minutes or less, I won't. I will just ask someone to do it for me, which is fine. But, that's the growth opportunity. Atlassian's not going to sell to, they're not going to double their revenue by doubling the number of companies they're selling to. What they're trying to do is still grow within companies. And that's the opportunity, as I see. Design, UX, the front end, which is where I think app vendors can win. Because Atlassian are doing smarter and smarter things with AI and Rovo and the big criticism of them is the UX, the UI, the front end. And I see there's a bunch of big players who that's where they went, right? They built very nice, clean, intuitive apps that people want to use. You could be using Draw.io or Refined, or like there's a few of these apps where you wouldn't know or care that you're using it. You're used to that experience, you get it, that's your workflow. So
yeah, makes sense. You also mentioned that the B2B software is 20 years behind B2C software. Why do you think that is, and how do we fix it?
Well, so I think I've been clear on, how it is, right? Like the fact that you need a training course. Why it is, I think B2C attracts more money. If you look at Silicon Valley, it comes partly down to investment. Just a case of like a good pitch deck for Y Combinator or Sequoia is the total market size is 6 billion users. Therefore, give me all your money. And every business by default, if you're building an add-on, the market is 1% of that, right?
Yep.
So it's partly that. It's partly why I love this space is it's less competitive. I often get told, "Wow, Chris, you're great at marketing." I go, in the Atlassian ecosystem, I would imagine me in fashion. I would not be good at marketing in a competitive space. So partly it's just money. Like if you want to sell 10 million widgets for $10, you need to be damn good at marketing. Whereas if you're selling an enterprise software tool for $5,000 and you only have one competitor who built their app 10 years before you really have to suck not to beat them. So really partly is we're just playing the game on easy mode. And that's it. Like, success is the poor teacher. A lot of the legacy big guys in this space, the best thing they have going for them is they started 10 years ago. And because they did well, they're convinced they're the world's greatest geniuses. Now, a few of us have shown that like good UX and caring for these things makes a huge difference. And I think people did the wrong takeaway from custom charts because we grew so quick, and I was the spokesperson for the company and I was responsible for marketing and sales. So I was also at marketing and sales. The takeaway was, oh, that's the key. No, in hindsight, I think our biggest key is that we made a good tool for an underserved user base, right? The less technical users. I think we had good UX that didn't require onboarding or training. And everyone told us as well, oh, but the partners won't sell your app if they can't sell a service wraparound. Cool, don't care. That's, yeah. But again, zig when everyone's zagging. So, yeah, why is it so? Because so far the market has rewarded bad behavior. But yeah, I'm here to say that good UX gets you quick wins. And people are tired. People are tired of it. There's a generation now, right? Like millennials are, getting older. There's 2 generations below us entering the workforce who will not accept sloppy UX. They just won't. Don't do it.
Yeah, I think that's happening a lot more. I definitely see that with newer products, especially in the B2C space, but hopefully in the B2B space as we're progressing and Gen Z starts to get into the workforce and all that. I want to talk about Figma for Jira and your experience with Old Street. I did have something pop into my mind first, though, that I'd love to get your take on. As an investor and as someone who's developed apps, who's created products, what are your thoughts on companies specifically like B2C? You could think of companies like, let's say, Airbnb, Uber, other companies, maybe even Amazon, funded companies that have a huge backing with investors that dominate the market, that take the entire market to themselves. They buy out all their competitors, and then they start to drive up costs. So oftentimes what I've heard and what I've seen is that investors require this to happen. You get a ton of fees, you get, they try to increase the margin, and that destroys the company. What are your thoughts on like funded companies and companies with like large investors and startups that are not bootstrapped?
Okay, so there's 3 points there. I'll just open with, you have triggered me on my politics. So this is about to get real. The first one is that after the dot-com boom of 2008, there should have been a bigger financial crisis, but markets did as they always did and rushed in to bail out. Sorry, I'm conflating the financial crash of 2008 and the dot-com bubble. 2 different things. But anyway, dot-com boom was one thing, and then later the financial crash of 2008, which led governments to give free money to tech companies. They were just desperate to make the numbers go up, the stock market look good. And a combination of like interest-free loans and then Saudi money. So not a lot of people realize this, but the PayPal mafia are Saudi funded, much in the same way that they bought up golf and oil companies, obviously. But they used that money and they washed it through sports and tech. And so you ended up with this just huge, it's hard to call it a bubble because it just seems to never burst. Like, I've been chicken littling this for far too long, but the point is that there's just free money. And as long as it makes the stock market go up, no one is invested to stop this nonsense. And so we've had this huge era of free money, which I would say maybe it's hype. I mean, value has been created, right? Clearly. But it's kind of like when someone inherits $100 million. It's hard not to create value when money is free. Like, you have to be a monumental clown to inherit that much money and not grow the pie a little bit at least. So yeah, we've just been awash with money. It's been a weird time. This is why, everyone we know has a job in tech. It's the only game in town. It's the gold rush, right? It has created, as we've seen, a gilded age with another generation of robber barons that, funnily enough, we were seeing 100 years ago. History is repeating itself. And you're absolutely right in that the whole point of their overinvestment is to capture a monopoly, right? That is the play. So, how old are you?
25.
25, right. So 10 years ago, maybe you were just catching the dream that tech was selling us, that they were trying to make the world a better place. That rhetoric has stopped. And that song has stopped. When they were growing too fast to legislate, and this is Peter Thiel's playbook, his recommendation is to grow so fast governments don't have time to stop you. They were offering great deals and great services, and it was amazing. They were improving the world. And now Facebook is full of bots and ads, and Uber charges way too much, and drivers are still getting paid less than minimum wage. You thought it would disrupt the travel economy. All it really disrupted was employment laws, right? We're just living at the sad end. Cory Doctorow calls it the end-shitification of tech, where we're now past the peak, and we feel this in a lot of things, not just tech. Every generation prior to ours believed that life would be better for their kids. We are the first generation who not only will be poorer than our parents, but who don't believe our kids will be richer than us. So what was the question again?
It was your thoughts on the way that companies receive investment. And I guess to kind of
whether you
play
should
on.
bootstrap or get investment.
Yeah. Yep.
Funnily enough, I was dead against getting investment at a point when money was free. And I kind of, as much as I hate it and I resent my co-founders for forcing me to sell a great company at a shitty price, it was the peak of the market, right? I sold at the absolute peak, the best multiple I could have got. Maybe I could have sold higher to Appfire, but they would have, trapped me working there for 3 years, and you can't put a price on that. So, I think bootstrap as much as you can, because these investment companies are smart and they will only offer you less than you're worth. If they're offering you money, it's because they know they're going to make a profit. They don't do it otherwise. And trust me, they have all sorts of clever means. They'll drag out the negotiations for 2 years so that by the time you've grown, they've de-risked their thing, right? They'll only pay you with money you would have won otherwise. Unless, the best time to retire is if you're burnt out or if you're done and ready for retirement. Otherwise, stay on the ride as long as you can. And the reason I stayed on longer than I should have is because I was wanting to learn, okay, the next company I grow, I want to learn, because, I've never worked for big companies. And so when I got acquired by a 200-person company, and I was on the board and in the meetings in the back, I was like, let's learn this then, right? Let's see how they run things, what I can learn from this. So I stayed longer than I should on the ride just for that. But the big lie they tell you is that they're smart money and that they have anything to teach you. If they're smart enough, they would build it themselves. People that buy companies aren't smart enough to build companies. They are, really offended to all the finance bros thing.
Wouldn't you say that it's a smarter move to just acquire a competitor than to put the money to build and you just buy out all the competitors' customers? Isn't that an easier play for a company who already has the money?
So define smarter, because, and this is a rhetorical question, I didn't literally mean you to, but the American way of defining smarter is it's easy money, right? Right.
Mm-hmm.
You would make more money if you bought out your competitors. Does
Right.
that make the world a better place? Does that make your company a better place? Does that make the
Mm-hmm.
industry you work in better? Does that make your app better? Does that make your end users happier? No. So if your only goal of this game, it's like speed running. You've seen speed runners of computer games, right?
Yep.
That's what finance is how
Mm-hmm.
do I speed
Yep.
run this game? Whereas when I play a game, I'm not trying to complete it in under 3 minutes. That's not why I play the game. I play it because I want to learn how to build a good product, and money is a byproduct. And I'm not anti-money, obviously, but that's how I say it. Is it not smarter? Could I not complete this game in under 3 minutes? You could, or you could enjoy the journey. Right? Both of options, really. But I tell you what
Mm-hmm.
I've learned over the years is that now, if I make a phone call and ask someone I used to work with 3 years ago, hey, I need you to quit your job and come work for me, they'll come because we built the best company and the best culture they've ever worked at. And what's the value of that? Like when I find an opportunity in this market, I can call people and say, quit your job, I'll make you happier, and they will. And that's worth a lot. That's a different kind of speed running. That's a different kind of skill.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's like a totally different perspective, but one that is, I think, missing in a lot of the companies that are being built today. And I think why you were so successful at what you did, because you don't just care about the end result of making money, you care about the product, the experience, the team, and everything else. I think a lot of
Yeah.
companies that are doing that now tend to see more success from it.
And building on that, and that's something I want to announce today, is that we're launching, it's called CollabSoft Ventures. It's very similar to Atlassian Ventures, right? And I encourage everyone to go to Atlassian Ventures first. If you want a 100K loan for your marketplace vendor app, go there, ask them for money. If they say no to you, come to us. We should be your backup plan. And we're trying to do that for all the smaller vendors. Because I
That's
think
really cool.
there's a lot of finance options once you're successful.
Mhm.
It's just a sad tragedy of life. We could have
Mhm.
used so many times. I could have used a loan, and no one would give it to us. And then once they started, people were cold calling me, offering me money. I'm like, I don't need it now. Fuck off. So, this is just a sad truth of life. And so, yeah, we want to pass the
Mhm.
lift down. I think as exciting as the rush of acquisitions were, it really did remove the entrepreneurial flair from our ecosystem, because some of the
Mhm.
brightest and most successful founders all got bought out, all got given 3-year non-competes.
Yep.
Are they happy? We don't know. They all signed NDAs. So it just captured the market. And so what I'm
Mhm.
trying to do is just send the lift back down. So CollabSoft are offering $10,000 to $100,000 loans to anyone that has an app idea, and that amount of money would help them get it done, push it over the line, take them to, if not revenue, then completion of the app. And that's why I'm talking to you today, because I want to offer that. And I think for a lot of people, it's really hard to come by money when you're at that stage. So you talk about investment versus bootstrapping. Both are tough. Investment is selling your soul to the devil. Bootstrapping, how? Like it's easy to say, oh, you should bootstrap.
Mhm.
It's very hard to make enough money to build an app. Developers aren't cheap.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm a big proponent of bootstrapping, and that's what we did, and we're doing okay for now. We'll see how things go. But yeah, I'm always cautious of like taking an investment or getting a loan or any kind of money for what you
Well,
do, because you could build a company that tries to cash flow as much as possible and take that and invest into something that is more capital intensive. That's always my perspective on it. But
but rightfully so. But this is why I'm offering a loan, 10
right.
to 100K, no strings attached. 2% interest, 6-month grace period, no strings
Wow,
attached. The contract
that's
is,
a great rate. I could
yeah.
uh, I could build a house.
Well, you joke about that, but literally, we were talking about this, right? And we were like, "Oh, what if someone just buys a car with the money?" I'm like, if that's what they need, to keep the wheels turning, literally, fine, I don't care. Like some of the people we're going to offer this loan to are going to keep their day jobs. It's not even, they're going to just ask for a small amount because you say people are nervous getting a loan, even no strings attached, right? They're going to borrow this money, and I just hope it's enough that they start working a bit less in their day job. And then when the thing's built one day, when their boss is a dick, they're like, yeah, it's fuck you money, right? And fuck you money is a different amount for different people. But yeah, genuinely, this is why we're offering it no strings attached, because that's all too rare. We were debating, like, do we want return on this investment? None of us did. Genuinely, and again, no one will trust this. This is the hardest sell I know. If I sold it you at 15% interest, you'd probably trust it more. But I'm doing this because I genuinely want to help the next generation of Atlassian vendors in the ecosystem. And I do think we're slowly missing out some of that entrepreneurial flair. It's been tapering off. Investment has died out. It's harder to get options. Good luck getting one from a traditional bank in this day and age. So this is an option for some people. Even if it just helps them buy a laptop so they don't have to work on their work laptop and risk getting in trouble over that further down the line. Yeah, that's awesome. Again, you're welcome to be skeptical of it, but I'll keep singing this thing.
Everybody who's watching heard it here first. Go to Collapsoft if you're doing anything in the Atlassian space that is looking for investment. Reach out to Chris, Collapsoft. That's pretty amazing. I love to hear it.
Cheers, man.
All right. So Old Street Solutions. What sparked the idea for custom charts, starting the company and building something that you felt like a missing piece in the Atlassian ecosystem, but everybody warned you against?
Great question. So I started a company because I had to. I had entrepreneurship in my DNA. And just every company I worked for, I was always looking for an angle, an excuse to start a company, right? We started like our own training company called like Atlassian World Tour. And that was a month before Atlassian announced they were doing Atlassian Team Tour. So I got a letter from Atlassian's lawyers telling us to back off, and that idea immediately folded. So I think part of it is just, like my overdrive, desperately trying to start my own thing. I knew just from being forced to use EasyBI as a CRM, as a sales guy, that there was a huge opportunity for less technical users to make reporting tools. But that wasn't my idea. I said we just need to make something that caters for less technical users with a good UX. And then as soon as Tom, my co-founder, who was an Atlassian consultants are well positioned to be product manager for a vendor in my space, because so much of product development is speaking to end users, and an Atlassian consultant has spoken to so many end users. So it's a great crossover to make, and I encourage more people to do it. But and often the problem is they often find a hacky, clever, code way of doing it, and I'm like, cool, but understand that the average end user doesn't want to copy paste code from your documentation. So no. Tom got that and came up with the idea for custom charts for Jira. But the truth is, and I've said this before, so much of it was luck. So the plan was to develop custom color picker for Jira pie charts. It was our minimal viable product app we were making to learn how to make an app in the Atlassian marketplace. It was really, and this is how new we were. We were like, you can't pick your color that you want. Jira pie charts out of the box. I don't know. You tell me. Can you do that now? Have they fixed that problem yet?
I have no idea. I never use the out-of-box reporting.
Because so you tell me the world doesn't need apps. You do not use the reporting.
That is the one use case. That is the one use case.
I'm pretty sure there's more, but
there are. But that's the one biggest complaint that I have.
Right, and then even then, it's terrible. You imagine doing a RAG status and the red isn't red, and the amber isn't amber, and the green isn't green, and you have to explain that to your boss. And he's like, surely that's a 5-minute fix, and it is. And Atlassian, this is why I encourage vendors. Atlassian still haven't fixed it. Still, I built a 10 million business. 10 million for Atlassian is nothing, so they don't bother. They don't care. So we built that as an experiment, as a learning exercise, and then people started paying us $20,000 a year for it, and we went, well, maybe we'll put the other app ideas on the back burner. And they started giving us feedback, and then before we knew it, we've accidentally grown a really successful company.
So what's another feature that you see that you could charge $20,000 per company for implementing overnight with a very simple fix?
Not what I see, brother.
And I'm being sarcastic. I'm being totally sarcastic. I don't know if there is anymore, but that would be pretty cool.
I'm dead serious, mate. Like, it's all on the forums. And look, this was an old trick. Now it's done. Like, now there are vendors out there doing it. But look on the forums. People, it's a special kind of person that complains on a forum about a business software, right? They are weirdos. But that is gold. If someone cares enough, right, to register an account on a forum and write a 2-paragraph bitch, there'll be consultants in the comments saying, oh, you can just do it this way using this Groovy script. They don't want to. They have time, they have energy, but they don't want to spend it using Groovy. They'd rather spend it bitching on a forum. So, if someone's going to spend an hour, it would probably take to write that kind of rant, right? And then they go back and they reply to the comment like, yeah, they will give you $20,000 if you fix that problem. But, like, the people are out there telling you. And some of the biggest opportunities in the Atlassian marketplace are filled with some of the biggest vendors and solution partners chewing them out in the comments about what idiots they are and how dumb they are. Trust me, mark my words, the biggest goal, you'll have some of the biggest people who should be reading that and going, oh, there's an opportunity, in the comments like, oh, you idiot, you just have to do this and you should just read the documentation. No one wants to read the documentation. People don't read the instructions on their ready mail. Don't make me think. Make an app that just works first time out of the box without making me do a training course.
That's a great point. I mean, yeah, I think that a lot of that is missing from the UX of Atlassian and Atlassian apps. I totally agree.
It's the risk of smart people, right? Like, smart people love to be smarter than the average guy in the forums. And I just look at it and go, money. I don't want to prove I'm smarter than anyone. There's money there. That is gold. There's gold in the range.
Yeah, that's very true. One last question I have for you, and this one's a little bit selfish. If you ran an Atlassian solutions company, what would you do to differentiate yourself?
Focus, niche down. Everyone is trying to be everything for everyone. There's loads of badges, right? And it's people see it as a mark of pride when they collect all the badges. It's not. You waste so much time jumping through Atlassian soups, and I've got plenty of criticism for Atlassian, but I don't even mean this negatively. It's just the nature of the beast. It's what people do. Atlassian want partners to focus. Partners want as many customers as possible, but there's riches in the niches. Doesn't quite rhyme, but get my point. Focus. I mean, honestly, like I'll say this again and again. Read Crossing the Chasm. Be the best answer to 10 customers. Like, we live in an age where everyone wants 10 million followers on Instagram. They don't. You want 10 customers who are positive enough that when they hear a colleague or someone else at a networking event say, oh, we're having a problem, they think of you first. Be the best in your micro niche. Be the best ITSM for legal departments in your state or county even. Because if you have one genuinely enthusiastic customer, It's that old meme about like, would you recommend Microsoft Windows to your friends? And they're like, no, dude, like I don't talk about operating software to my friends. What are you talking about? Like, be good enough that some nerd says, you know what, I worked with this guy. Two pieces of advice then. One is be so good that they talk about you. Two, it's really natural when you're a small services solution partner to pretend you're a big company. I did this with my website, right? Started talking about we and da 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 da. You pretend you're bigger than you are, right? But actually, you know, as a branding marketing exercise, it's much quicker and easier to just brand yourself, build relationships, and that's how the market's moving as well. Look at influencers. Look at people like Rodney Nissen, the Jira guy, right? Alex Ortiz. Notable people I'm forgetting. Sorry, I didn't give you a shout out. We don't have time because there's more and more of them because that's how the space is moving. So don't try and build a brand as a big company. Your personal brand, your name should be the brand. Because if people can say, I like Josh, Josh did a good thing for me. Have you met Josh? That's so much stronger than have you, mate, with all respect, I can't remember the company you work for. But I know you. There you go. Cool. But I know Josh because my brain is made to remember people when I meet you, right? And I've seen you around as well, right? I remember people. And so it's just a natural thing to present yourself bigger, talk about your company, talk about your company's history and all your employees and blah, 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 blah. If you knock it out the park for someone, people would happily refer you. And I think one of the biggest mistakes I've seen people do is not asking for a referral. If you do a good job for someone, say, are you happy? Did I do a good job for you? Cool. Would you recommend me? And they go, yeah. And then they go, cool, thanks, and walk away. No, no, no. Can you recommend me? That's the bit most people are missing. Like some people are trained enough to go, would you recommend me? Right? And people go, yeah. Okay, bye. No, no, no. Okay. Between us, guy that's just done you a favor and saved you and made your life easier, I need you to recommend me. Could you please refer me to someone? Not today, but next time the opportunity arises, please think of me. Everyone's looking to be a social media phenomenon. Just be social.
Yeah.
just be. Do someone a good job and ask them to recommend you.
Public. Yeah, no, that's great advice. I appreciate that. That's something we've been like actively doing, trying to niche down. But I like your perspective on being ultra specific, solving ultra specific problems, and just doing a phenomenal job at it. I think that's something that all markets lack, not just Atlassian spaces. But you're very right, and I think it's a big missed opportunity and a big fault of smaller companies when they enter the market. They want to appeal to everyone, but when you appeal to everyone, you appeal to no one. And
it's not just a marketing play; it's a product play. We're seeing the meshing of products and services. Product companies are trying to provide a service wraparound. Service companies are trying to productize their offering because it's very hard reinventing the wheel every time you meet a new client. Whereas if you've made the perfect HR help desk for a small legal company, guess who that's really good for? The next legal company. and you don't have to just reinvent the bicycle every time. Just you've done a thing that you can probably repurpose. And I've realized so much of us are just we're like digital butlers for boomers. There's so much money, right? There's so many businesses out there. There's so many businesses out there where it's just a boomer business that never really worked out how to use the internet. Like they have an email, but that's about it. And if you can be like, hey, like I get that you're happy with your email and you can keep using your email, but the rest of your team would really like a good ticketing system. Can I show you how it would help them? Like just wrap it up, productize it, sell it to every legal firm. Just an example, but yeah, the point is like riches in the niches, nail it. I've met so many people who've done like a marketing website that helps realtors in Utah, and they sold that company for 300 million. And that's a marketing. It's a niche marketing thing for realtors in Utah. And that business is worth 300 million. So when I tell someone to specialize and they say, no, but I don't want to miss out on the opportunity, you're missing out on the opportunity. Specialize, focus, nail one thing. Don't do 10 things poorly. Don't half-ass two asses, whole ass one ass.
All right. Well, thank you, Chris. It's been a pleasure having you on. A lot of good points. Where can people find you?
Will you concede that I won the debate?
I will concede that most teams, if not every team, needs an Atlassian app. But
can I give you the nuance that's sorely missing? I think every big enterprise team needs a separate instance where they're dedicated to trying new apps all the time.
Yes,
that's
I
the
agree with
halfway
that.
house.
Especially now with
and I would agree with you. Don't risk your main instance on like downloading all the apps, because now there's a million apps and half of them are really terrible.
Especially now when you can't even uninstall the app. You have to wait 30 days or reach out to customer support. It's an absolute pain these days to get rid of an app from your environment.
Yeah. So yeah, there should be a demo test instance. Under 10 users, you're probably not paying for it, right?
Yeah, that's a great point.
I hate any vendor that tries to charge for 10 users or below, but that's a different argument for another day. Anyway, you did ask me where people can find me. I'm LinkedIn /Big Chris Cooke. If you search for Chris Cooke with an E, I might be big enough that you can find me. It's a common name, but I'm starting to grow a bit of a following on LinkedIn, so you should find me there. Otherwise, look for Collabsoft, and if a bit of money could help you quit your day job and get out there, please reach out, because I'd love to talk to you.